Oh Christmas tree, thy leaves are so unchanging, unless you are the 2024 Boston Red Sox Christmas tree, in which case those leaves have changed pretty significantly as we've headed into this off season. Welcome back to the channel, guys. If you are new here, I talk Red Sox, and we have some big Red Sox news today. We got a passing bomb 2 days before Christmas. Right-hander Walker Buehler and the Boston Red Sox are in agreement on a one-year $21.05 million contract. One of the Dodgers World Series heroes, two-time All-Star, will join a rebuilt Red Sox rotation, and rebuilt it has been. I cannot tell you how excited I am to get a guy like Walker Buehler into this rotation. And there have been so many moves that have kind of happened in a pretty short window here, if you really think about it. Because to be perfectly honest, we just signed Walker Buehler, and that's a pretty big move on its own. 10 days ago, it was just like 10 days ago, we traded for Garrett Crochet. It feels like it's been forever. It feels like nothing's happened. It was not even 2 weeks ago, guys. It just happened. And so in the span of 2 weeks, our rotation is completely different here. So let's review all of these big changes because there's a lot that has happened since the start of this offseason. And let's first start, obviously, with the big news of the hour, and that is getting Walker Buehler. Now, for those of you guys that don't know much about Walker Buehler, you might be just like a Red Sox fan or a casual fan, or you're just somebody who's getting into the team, or you just want to know more about Walker Buehler. Walker Buehler didn't have a great 2024 season, as you can see, negative 1.3 WAR. Not great at all. But when he went into the playoffs, the guy turned into exactly the same type of pitcher that he's been over the past half decade of his career with the Dodgers, and that is a very good to elite starting pitcher. Let's take a look at these stats. His 2021 season here, this was just 3 years ago. 7.1 WAR, 2.47 ERA, 33 starts, 207 innings pitched, 212 strikeouts, fourth in the Cy Young. He led all of Major League Baseball with a 171 ERA plus. That means that at a rate basis, Walker Buehler was the best pitcher in baseball 3 years ago. Just 3 years ago, Walker Buehler was the best pitcher in baseball. And yeah, he kind of regressed in 2022. And you know what happened? His arm exploded. And he had Tommy John surgery. And so he was dealing with injuries at the start of 22, got hurt. They need to repair some ligaments in there. Missed all of 2023, came back in 2024 after missing almost 2 seasons. And when he came back, he didn't do great. But you know what? I feel pretty good about that because, again, just what he did in the postseason. And let's go take a look at that really fast. He came out of the wild card, got a start against the Padres, got shelled. It happens sometimes. Not great, but the Dodgers still moved on. He took the loss in that game. He comes out, has a start against the Mets in the next series, goes 4 innings, 6 strikeouts, 3 hits allowed, 0 runs. Comes out, pitches against the Dodgers, goes 5 innings in that game, and he gave up, I think, 2 hits, had 7 strikeouts, and then he comes out and closes out the World Series. He was on the mound when the Dodgers won the World Series this last year. And so you look at these numbers, he had 10 innings to end the year against the highest competition at the height of the baseball season, and he completely shut the door in the championship series and then in the World Series. And so I look at this, and it's a very small sample size, and I hate sample sizes like this, and I think that this is, I'm making a big deal out of it, and it is kind of a big deal, but it's not like the biggest deal. But the reason that I'm bringing this up and that I'm so adamant about this being an actual point is because pitchers can't just come out and do this. This is like a different type of mentality. And you look at the 5 years that he's had playoff experience, 3.04 ERA in 19 appearances, 94 innings pitched, 10.8 strikeouts per 9. Like, this is the type of pitcher that is going to help you when you reach the postseason. Because you look at his overall stats in the regular season, 3.27 ERA over his career. So he gets better when he hits the playoffs. And this is a Red Sox team right now that I am telling you, I was talking about this on my last video earlier this week. This team is already, before the Walker Buehler signing, this team was already better right now than where they were on opening day 2024. And then you sign a guy like Walker Buehler. I'm going to put my stamp on it right now, guys. The Red Sox are going to the playoffs next season. And I'll stick to that. You guys can be like, well, we still need a right-handed bat, and we do. We'll get one because we got $25 million left in cap space, and there's still time to do the lineup, but the rotation is done. The bullpen, pretty close to being done. You could roll into the season with this bullpen and feel okay, and I'll explain that more in a second. But the pitching side of this, if you left everything as it is right now on the pitching side, this Red Sox pitching staff is a top 10 pitching staff, no doubt. They're a top 5 pitching staff in the American League easily. And pitching is what wins ball games. Pitching is what wins you championships. And their defense is still not good. There's still some issues with their defense. You got Rafael Devers as a liability at third base. Second base was kind of a revolving door this last year. Shortstop, not great. But you got Trevor Story back, and if he plays all year at shortstop, he's going to give you an above-average shortstop. Because that's what he is. He's an above-average shortstop. Potentially an elite shortstop still, defensively at least. And if he's out there for 120-plus games, which, I mean, I've been saying it for a couple of years, betting that he's going to do it. I'm going to bet again that he'll probably do it if he doesn't get hurt. But again, he might get hurt. But if our defense is better, our pitching's obviously better, and we still have another piece to add in the lineup, we could roll out the same lineup as last year. And again, we were like a top 10 offense in baseball this last year. So you have a top 10 offense. You have a top 10 to top 5 pitching staff in all of baseball. I mean, that makes you a top 5 team in the league. That makes you a playoff team right there. And there's such a wide variance as to what could potentially happen here. And let's take a look at like this entire roster. Like, this is the updated roster. Ed Hand posts a lot of really good things on Red Sox Twitter here. But this is his updated roster right now, projectable, and the depth charts behind it. And you start to see what I'm talking about, the vision here that's been created. And this is a stellar rotation. It really is. Does it have the two guys at the top of the rotation where you can be like, those two guys are both aces? No. But you have Garrett Crochet, who he's an ace. And if you let him go and he can give you 200 innings pitched this next season, Garrett Crochet's an ace. We can run through him really quick again. I've already talked about him pretty extensively, but let's really quick. We'll run through these guys. Garrett Crochet, 4.1 ERA, 4.1 WAR, 3.58 ERA, 146 innings pitched. He pitched 32 starts. This wasn't like he didn't pitch the whole season. They were just limiting his innings. He was trying to protect himself a little bit on this. But he had a 2.69 FIP. And if you look at his FanGraphs projections, he is projected to be the fourth or fifth most valuable pitcher this next season in all of baseball. I think he's projected at 4.7 F4. And if you're and Garrett or Chris Sale is like, I think he's tied with him. I think he's tied for Chris Sale. And Chris Sale just won the Cy Young Award. And so if you have Garrett Crochet at the top of your rotation, he has ace potential. And he pitched like one this last year. This ERA, I don't trust this ERA because he had the White Sox behind him. Terrible defense. Not as bad as the Red Sox, but not good. And so 2.69 FIP, this is the real number, the fielding independence score. This takes fielding out of the equation. And so this is the one that you care about. And he was dominant. And he pitched the whole season. It's not like they shut him down and he only pitched 25 starts and they're like, nope, you're done in August. It's like, no, he pitched the whole year. And so if you just add 2 innings onto all of these starts at the end of the season, he gives you 190 plus innings. And so if you have Garrett Crochet, top of your rotation, he's an ace caliber guy. As long as he's on the field, he's an ace caliber guy, and he's disgusting on the field. I'll tell you that. Absolutely disgusting. And then behind him, you got Tanner Houck. And come on, guys. He was one of the best pitching breakouts the Red Sox have had in forever. He was an all-star, regressed in the second half. I'll give you that, for sure. But in the first half, he had like a 2.5 ERA, and he was legitimately a Cy Young candidate at the All-Star break. He was somebody that could have started the All-Star game. But he didn't give up any home runs. It's kind of interesting to me that he didn't strike out as many batters, but I'm okay with that if this is the results that he's getting. And Tanner Houck, if you look at him, I think his profile long-term is a number 2 guy. And if you see him, and even if he's a 3 or 2 guy, but if he gives you a 3 to 3.5 ERA out of your second spot in the rotation, but he has the potential to elevate past that, he threw a complete game shutout this year. He threw a Maddox, which means that he threw a complete game shutout with under 100 pitches. It was 94 pitches. I remember this because I made a video on it. If you want to watch it, you can look up Tanner Houck complete game shutout every pitch. I made a video on that. But you got Tanner Houck and Garrett Crochet as your 1-2. That's better than most. That's a lot better than most already. It's not better than everybody, but it's better than most. They have Walker Buehler in as your number 3. And Walker Buehler, like, we can go back to his stats again really quick. We'll go to his Savant page, actually. We don't need to go back to his stats. So this was his Savant metrics for the 2024 season. Not great overall. But you can see the things that he still excels at. He still has a good fastball. 95 miles per hour is an average fastball, and it's only his 65th percentile, which I'm just going to take a second. That's crazy that he's averaging 95 miles per hour on his fastball, and it's still only 65th percentile in baseball. But that's good. That's really good. And let's go back. We'll just go back to that 2021 season. Do I need to say anything? He was coming off injury, guys. And he showed you that he's still capable of being a dominant pitcher. Now, is he going to hold up the whole season? Is he going to give you 207 innings like he did in 2021 and a 2.47 ERA? That would be ludicrous for me to project that. But could he give you 150, 160 innings this next season? Pretty easily? I think so. Could he give you a 3 to 3.5 ERA? Something similar to what Tanner Houck does? He's done better than that before. He was the best pitcher in baseball 3 years ago. The best pitcher in baseball 3 years ago. And he's 30 years old. He's going into his age 30 season. And so you have Walker Buehler, and he's a little bit of a wild card. But I was reading somebody comment on this on Twitter before I made this video. And they were saying that Walker Buehler is like the inverse of Garrett Crochet. And you have Garrett Crochet who comes in, and Crochet, he had a great last season without the track record of success, right? But then you have Walker Buehler, who had a bad last season, but he has a great track record of success. And so if you can get both of these guys to kind of level back out to the mean here, like, you're going to have 2 really good starting pitchers. And that's like a top 3 in the rotation. That's very good. Very, very good. After that, you got Brayan Bello. And Bello, like, I'm not sure if you guys really pay much attention to what Bello's been kind of up to, but he had a pretty bad first half of this last year. But he actually did much better as the season progressed. So, like, his month-by-month breakdown here, let's take a look. So, started off okay. Actually started off very well in April, March, because the whole rotation did. If you remember at the end of April, the Red Sox had straight up the best pitching in baseball at the end of April, and we were all lining up to go do some favors for Andrew Bailey. And they really, really regressed as they headed into the All-Star break, and he was no different than that. He had a terrible June. But then look at the end of the season here. August and September, he pitched 55 innings, and he had like a 3.25 ERA. And am I saying that that's going to be Brayan Bello over the whole season? No. I mean, but again, he could be. And he's shown for a 10-start range that he could do that. And 10 starts is not insignificant. Like, if you look at 10 starts, that's a good sample size. He needs to give you more length. He's still throwing way too many pitches. And that was something that Tanner Houck was dealing with for years until this last year. And then he started throwing more innings. And he was able to get better control of his pitches. And he wasn't giving up as many walks. But Brayan Bello, I mean, 3.5 walks isn't terrible. But if you get that sub 3, you get this down just a little bit, get those strikeouts up to like 9.5, 10, that's pretty good. And I think that there's a world, like his FIP here too, 4.19 ERA, that's a pretty noticeable difference between 4.49. If he had a 4.19 ERA, that's basically what he did the year prior. And I think that I thought he was going to take a step forward this next year. I made a whole video talking about how I thought that, and I still think that he could be something like a Johnny Cueto, what Cueto was able to do. And Cueto dominated for years. And do I think that he's going to become Johnny Cueto? Not necessarily, but he has the potential to do something closer to that than what we've shown so far. And if he can give you a sub 4 ERA this next season, I think that that's the goal for him. Just get that ERA into the 3s. because he's still young and we've got him under control for like another 4 or 5 seasons. So if you're getting this out of Brian Bayo here, and he gets you a sub-4 ERA, and you've got the Garrett Crochet and a Tanner Houck and a Walker Buehler in front of him, and Brian Bayo's coming out there with a sub-4 ERA out of the number 4 spot in your rotation, you got 4 starters that you can count on day in, day out that are going to potentially help you win ball games. And we haven't even reached the 5th spot in the rotation. And they have it as Cutter Crawford / Lucas Giolito. I think that spot's probably going to Lucas Giolito. And the reason that I say that is it's not that Cutter Crawford didn't do great this last year. And honestly, people are talking about Cutter Crawford as like a trade piece for somebody who really could help this team. I know that he was somebody who was even looked at as a replacement for Garrett Crochet for the White Sox. Like he was discussed as somebody who could be traded for him. I did not want to lose Garrett or Cutter Crawford here because you know what he does? He is foolish baseball makes this comment all the time, but he is a Chad innings eater. I love that phrase. That was a great coined term. But 183 innings pitched, 33 starts. He just goes out there every single day and he gives you an opportunity to win. But he just doesn't have the track record of what Lucas Giolito has been able to do over his career. And frankly, he's not being paid what Lucas Giolito is being paid to do. Lucas Giolito is being paid $20 million a year to go out there and start every 5th day. Cutter Crawford is he's still on a rookie contract. I think he's going to be maybe going through arbitration next season. But Lucas Giolito, I mean, we're paying him to be this type of Lucas Giolito right here. The guy that can go out and give you maybe like a 3.5 ERA. And when you're looking at this, like, are we going to be able to get this? Like, he hasn't done this in a while. It's a similar type take to what we were talking about with Walker Buehler. But the difference is he had a couple not so great years in the middle here. Whereas Walker Buehler, like, yes, he had some a not great season last year. But Walker Buehler's not great season was a direct result of injury. Lucas Giolito's not great season was just not great. Like, it wasn't bad. He got hurt after the fact. He didn't get hurt and then was like rehabbing and wasn't great. He just, wasn't great and then got hurt. And so there's a little bit more like risk with this. And the home runs allowed is a concern. But I would go into the season with Lucas Giolito as my number 5 starter and feel good. Because again, if he struggles or whatever, you still have Cutter Crawford right behind it. And then after Cutter Crawford, Lucas Giolito, that's 6 starters that like, they're established starters. They're just guys that you can go out there and you feel good about 6. And then after that, I mean, you still have Richard Fitz and Quinn Priester, who if there were a lot of people, and there have been a lot of people talking about like they should be given a shot for a rotation spot. Like what's the problem with them going into opening day as like a starter? And there's inherently not a problem with it. Like if you want to give one of them the opportunity, that's okay. But then where's the depth behind them? We're talking Chris Murphy and Zach Penrod. Murphy's coming off Tommy John surgery. Penrod's doesn't have the track record of like what Quinn Priester and Richard Fitz do in the minor league system. And like these are guys that could be good, but I would much rather see these guys get 5 to 10 starts this next season, and then 2026 we see what we got. Because Walker Buehler was on a 1-year contract, and Cutter Crawford could get traded. And Lucas Giolito is going to be gone. So there'll be rotation spots after that. And I think if you can give them that 5 or 10 starts, give them 50, 60 innings at the big league level this next season, when they fill in for hopefully like small injuries or just some spot starts, I like that. But the big point that I'm trying to make here is you now have 6 guys that are reliable starters at the big league level, reliable enough to be able to give the ball every 5th day. They might not perform. Maybe I'm overselling it a little bit. Maybe they're not all going to be under 4 ERA guys, but if they give you a 4.5 ERA out of the 5 spot, you're fine. It's whatever. You're okay with that. And then on top of those 6 guys, you've got 2-3 more guys. I didn't even count Josh Winkowski. Josh Winkowski, like if we look at Winkowski here, he is like almost a forgotten guy with the Red Sox sometimes. And he had a terrific 2023 season. And I don't think he started on opening day this last year, but then he came back and he didn't do as well this last year. He started a couple more games. He could be a starter. I mean, he started a lot in 2022, 14 games, didn't do super well. But he's another one of those guys where you look at it and it's like a Garrett Whitlock type role, like if he's 2 innings pitched. And this is a guy, again, he's going to be at AAA to start the season, most likely. I think he's got one more option here. He's going to be at AAA. And Zack Kelly, too. Like, people were clowning on Zack Kelly this last year. Zack Kelly did totally fine for a lot of the season. 3.97 ERA. Like, this is what Zack Kelly is. If he's the first guy out of your bullpen, I like that. I like that a lot. He's going to strike out some guys. He walks a little bit too many. But Zack Kelly's not a bad pitcher. And if he's at AAA and he's a depth guy, cool. I like that a lot. Chase Sugart, he's probably going to get replaced from Walker Buehler, I would imagine. Bernardino's not bad. This pitching staff's really good. Liam Hendricks, Slayton, Chapman, Whitlock. These are 4 guys that I feel really good about late in innings. Greg Weisser, Luis Guerrero looked awesome. Justin Wilson, Cooper Criswell, we haven't even talked about. I mentioned rotation depth. Criswell's okay out of the rotation, but he's probably never going to have to start again. He might be a trade candidate, to be perfectly honest. And Cooper Criswell did okay, filling in for the team at times, but I don't really want him starting, honestly. He started way too many games, and he can't even give you like 5 innings most of the time. But he's a nice guy to have around. I think it's a good little trade piece. I think you look to trade him, maybe. Who knows? So where does this leave us? Well, let's take a look at the lineup here. We got Duran, Devers, Story, Casas, Yoshida, Wong, Abreu, Grissom, Rafaela. This is subject to change. I mean, you could theoretically swap out Grissom here for David Hamilton. You could even swap him in for guys like Christian Campbell, who I would be interested in possibly getting him in the opening day lineup. I don't think that we would need to, though. There's just too many guys in here. Unless you're gonna somehow get a package deal for like David Hamilton and Cooper Criswell. Maybe you trade him to like the Cardinals or something, and you get like Ryan Hesley back. Ryan Hesley, like this is an option that could be your closer right there. And I wonder if they'd be willing to do that, because Ryan Hesley, for those of you that don't know, I talked about him a while back. 3.0 WAR as a closer this last year, 49 saves. Look what he's done the last 3 seasons here. These are insane numbers. 1.25 ERA, 2.45, 2.04. The Cardinals are looking to shed some salary. They're looking to trade some guys that they might not be able to re-sign. He's a free agent after this next season. I don't really like trading assets for like a 1-year guy, especially when you might not extend it, which, you might not extend Ryan Hesley. If you trade for him, he's going to be 31 after that season. But at the same time, if you've got assets, blocking guys like Christian Campbell and Roman Anthony from coming up, and say you take David Hamilton and Cooper Criswell, maybe you package around something like that, and you get Ryan Hesley back, one of the best closers in baseball, if not the best closer, with like Devin Williams up there. I mean, Hesley versus Devin Williams, that'd be a really fun argument between the Red Sox and Yankees going into next season. And like, why would the Cardinals do this? Well, I mean, you get Cooper Criswell, and I think he's got, oh gosh, what am I doing here? Criswell back, and I think he's still got, 2030. He's still got like 5 more years of control. 5 years of control for Cooper Criswell. A guy that could be maybe a number 5 starter or a long reliever. That's not bad. And then you add David Hamilton to the mix. Hamilton, I think, every time I bring up David Hamilton, I'm always impressed with how much he was able to do this last season, because they were kind of like a mixed bag. His defense was a little bit all over the place. But again, you get 5 years of control of David Hamilton, too. 5 years of David Hamilton, 5 years of Cooper Criswell, and you get for Ryan Hesley back. I mean, 2.6 WAR. He's a really nice guy to have off your bench. 33 stolen bases this last year in 37 attempts. Look at that. Isn't that ridiculous? And he was okay at second base. He was bad at shortstop. But you put him at second base with his wheels. I mean, he's going to hit a little, maybe a league average hitter. But I mean, 2.6 WAR. For a guy who played half a season. If he played a full season, that's like 5 WAR player. I don't think David Hamilton's a 5 WAR player. But at the same time, you can see why the Cardinals would maybe do something like this. And then again, if you trade Hamilton and you trade Cooper Criswell, you can get Nick Sogard back up here potentially, or you could just put Christian Campbell in the opening day lineup and have Vaughn Grissom off the bench. Vaughn Grissom hasn't played regularly in years, and I do believe in Vaughn Grissom. I made a video um, before he got hurt and really, didn't play much this last season, about how I thought Vaughn Grissom had a lot of characteristics that were really similar to what Xander Bogaerts was doing early in his career. They came up around the same age. They have a similar hit profile. And if you look at how they swing the bat, it's really similar. And like, he's done pretty okay. Like, Worcester this last year, he was, 758 OPS. Not amazing, but like the past couple of years, 2023, 921 OPS. He's recovering from injury this year. I think he's not bad. I'd like to give him another shot. If he's off your bench, great. And if Campbell struggles, you put him in the starting lineup. I'd be fine with Vaughn Grissom up there. But I think that's a good move. You get 10 years of control for the Cardinals, and you get Ryan Hesley back for the Red Sox. What's there not to like? I mean, you have clogged people in the lineup, and you need to create some space for some of these guys being able to come up. I mean, if Marcelo Meyer, Christian Campbell, and Roman Anthony are going to be in this lineup by 2026, which they all should be, if they're still in this organization, they all should be in the lineup by 2026. You gotta get rid of 3 spots here. So second base is the clear one for sure. Wilyer Abreu is probably, unfortunately, the next one. Maybe Masataka Yoshida is the other one. Those are 3 right there. Those are probably the 3 guys that by 2026 maybe wouldn't be in this opening day lineup by that year. So you have a year and a half to kind of figure this out before those guys need to be up, or you deal them. The other thing is you could deal them. I don't think they're dealing Anthony or Campbell. They've had like a hard no on that. And they must see something in those 2 guys. But even still, then you have to get rid of Abreu and you need to get rid of Grissom. Or you need to get rid of Yoshida and you need to get rid of your second baseman. Doesn't have to be Grissom, just your second baseman. Because I like Romy Gonzalez as a utility guy. Rob Refsnyder won't be here after this next season. I think he's going to retire. He wants to get one more year in, but he's not super old. But he's had kind of a weird last couple seasons. Like, he had a really nice 2024, not as great 2023, an amazing 2022, which got him that little extension that he got. So I think after 34, he's not a guy that's going to stick around forever. He's made some decent money, but he wasn't going to like leave $3 million on the table or whatever he's making this next year. He's probably made like $10 million in his career. That's quite a bit of money. I think he's just a guy that would rather retire and be a coach and manage a little bit younger than some other people. And so if you have this and Rob Refsnyder's gone, David Hamilton's gone, maybe Wilyer Abreu's gone. That's how you get Marcelo Meyer, Christian Campbell, and Roman Anthony up. That's how you do it. And you still have guys like Nick Sogard, which I like a lot. I like Nick Sogard a lot. I think you give Nick Sogard 200 or 300 at-bats, he's going to do good things for you off the bench, for sure. And then again, we're only a year away from other guys like Yostinson Garcia, who's already on the 40-man roster, by the way. Yostinson Garcia is the only one of like these almost MLB-ready hitters that's even close, and he's still in Double-A. Like, he still probably needs almost this entire next season to develop before he gets called up. And there's a lot of ways that I think about this, and I'm like, well, I don't even know if I want him called up by the end of this next year. I think I'd rather him just be in Double-A, Triple-A all year, and then you look at him at 2026. But that's a different story. We're talking about right now. And so I look at what has happened this offseason, and the lineup still needs a bat. But again, we don't want to block these guys. So where do we go from here? Where are we going? Well, you start looking at those one-year deal guys, some guys that potentially could bridge the gap to Roman Anthony and Christian Campbell. Because you don't want them to not be able to be in that lineup. And the name that's getting floated around lately is Randal Grichuk. And you look at what Randal Grichuk did last year, pretty good. 2.2 WAR, 254 at-bats, 12 home runs, 291 batting average, 875 OPS, and a 140 OPS plus. Now I'm going to give you the positives here first, because some of you guys might already be like being like, well, there's some other things, but let's talk about the positives first. That 140 OPS plus is better than Anthony Santander, better than Teoscar Hernandez, better than Alex Bregman did, which those are the three big targets that the Red Sox have been like involved with this year. The big three like right-handed bats. Santander's a switch hitter, but right-handed bats that potentially could be in the middle of the lineup. Randal Grichuk is a platoon guy. He's not going to cost a lot of money. And if you can get a similar level of production, and say you give him a 1-year deal for $12 million, $15 million, I don't know what he's going to cost. Probably something in that range. I mean, you're not blocking anybody. You got Randal Grichuk for a year. And the detractors will say that Randal Grichuk does not have a great history of doing this, which is a fair thing to say. But at the same time, he's also hit 20 plus home runs 5 times in his career. He has 200 career home runs. This is not some slouch who has just been a below average hitter forever. And let's take a look at his splits really quick. Because again, if he's a right-handed hitter and he's coming in to do what? Play against lefties. And so when we're looking at the platoon splits here, we don't want him to play against righties. He's more of a league average hitter, a 92 true OPS plus, which is basically what his OPS plus is against that type of guy. But an 833 OPS against left-handed pitchers in his career, that's what you need. You need that guy who can bat third, fourth, or fifth for you to break up some of these lefties. Probably third, honestly. Because if you look at this lineup right here, you got Jarren Duran, Rafael Devers, Randal Grichuk. I put him in the 3-hole, then Tristan Casas, and then Trevor Story, and then Masataka Yoshida. I take that for a year with this rotation. And if it's not enough, you go at the trade deadline and you try to acquire somebody that might be able to give you that little extra oomph. And there's always guys that kind of pop up that are available. Maybe Luis Robert is available if the White Sox hang on to him, which they would be foolish not to, but they've made worse decisions in the past. But maybe he's available, or somebody along those type of lines where it's like, hey, you're having a really nice rebound season. You're on an expiring contract. And you just plug him in the middle of the lineup for half a season, and you don't necessarily have to re-sign him. But if you're making a postseason push and you need a little offense, you can do that. But against a right-handed starter, right-handed pitchers in general, Jarren Duran, Devers, Casas, that's not somebody you want to go through. And I think the other alternatives, you got $25 million in cap space still to work with. That's how much money before you hit the first CBT threshold. And we've already added Crochet and Walker Buehler and Aroldis Chapman. And that's fixed a lot of things on here. And we're getting Lucas Giolito and Liam Hendricks back. There's a lot of additions to this team that have happened already. And when you really start breaking it all down, you start realizing this is a damn good team. And something else that I want you guys to think about, because I know I'm truly optimist when it comes to this team always. And I'm forever going to be, because it's, again, too boring to just be negative all the time. Like, what rage bait do I want to try to induce for you guys? Like, there's no need for any of that. You guys are coming here because you want to hear things about the Red Sox, and there are times and places to talk negatively about them. And there are questionable decisions that you can still say, like the Crochet trade, maybe that was an overpay. But if you extend them, who cares? Really, who cares? If you get an 8-year contract for Crochet, take him to like age 32, you've got his entire peak. And I think he's going to be good for a long time. If you don't extend him and you lose him after 2 years, you can question it. But right now, as of what they've done and what they will be doing for the 2025 season, the pitching, I will go ahead and say right now, borderline top 5 pitching overall in all of baseball is what I would bet by the end of the 2025 season. And if you add an elite arm in that back end of the bullpen to go along with Whitlock and Chapman and Slayton and Hendricks, and then you have like Greg Weissart or Luis Guerrero coming out of your middle innings. Greg Weissart was like our 8th inning guy for half the year this last year. You guys remember that? Like, legitimately was like our 8th inning guy. And nothing against Greg Weissart. Like, Greg did not too bad over his last couple of years with the Red Sox. 3.13 ERA. People were clowning on Weissart at points this year. But really, this was not a bad season at all. And if he's a 3.13 ERA and he's the first guy coming out of your bullpen, that means that the other guys behind him are better, right? And if everybody's a 3.3 ERA or equivalent or better, that's a damn good bullpen. And if you've got a rotation here that top to bottom is going to give you competitive outings. Damn good rotation. And if you get one more reliever, that's easily a top five. Top five for me. Top five in baseball. Pitching. And if you have a top 10 offense, all you need is the defense not to be the worst in baseball, which it has been for a while now, for like 4 seasons. And this is a really good team. I don't know what to tell you. What do you guys think? This has been a pretty long video. I do monologue stuff like this sometimes. I mean, if you guys enjoy it, like and subscribe. I will probably continue doing this. Kind of almost feels like a radio atmosphere, the way that I've been evolving and doing this lately. I don't know if you guys like that or not, but leave some comments. Tell me what you think about what I've said. I really try not to be unreasonable with some of these expectations. I am optimistic about expectations, but I try to like level it out as much as I can, and I think that I've done okay at that. But if you guys like this, like, subscribe, comment. I reply back to like all of you guys that leave some good comments for me to reply back to. I'll reply. And you know what? We might do some like live stream stuff in the near future, but I appreciate all of you guys are doing. Let me know if you want a live stream. Maybe we'll do something as we head closer to spring training. We can talk about some stuff. I have some more edited stuff that will be coming out, some more highlight videos for minor league players. I have a Miguel Bless video that's going to be coming out here pretty soon, so check that out. But appreciate all of you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Bye.